Meta ads are not volatile. I'm not saying that your results are stable. They're definitely not. What I'm saying is Meta, the platform itself, the machine learning system, the delivery system, the platform itself isn't the issue. That blaming on the actual system is causing you to make decisions that are costing you money. And I think that is one of the most misunderstood concepts in advertising, honestly. Obviously, I don't know what's happening in your specific ad account right now, but I can tell you something that is universally true and something I've seen across all of our clients, dozens of clients that we manage at Kinship, and probably hundreds that I've audited over the years. And this is kind of going into the beauty of cost controls, is that from a Monday to Tuesday, same bids, same cost controls, same budget, nothing changed on our end where performance dropped 40%. So how do I have the nerve to get on here? Because probably many of you are going to say, well, Meta is volatile. What I hear all the time from clients or from perspective is just, it's easy to blame Meta for volatility. You're getting this wrong. And it's probably one of the biggest reasons why you're leaving money on the table. The breakdown of this is more of around a process versus results thing, right? So if we think about any sort of gambling, any sort of flipping a coin, right? Like, I think the core issue when we actually break this down from a philosophical level, there's a critical distinction between the forecasting of what you're trying to do and then the actual outcomes that are coming in. It's this gap that is so counterintuitive that I've started to wonder if some people will actually just never fully internalize it. And so, for example, we can use poker. If I have pocket aces, I'm going to bet 85% of the time, 99% of the time against a single opponent, regardless of the cards that are on the table in Texas Hold'em. You're going to push your chips in. You're going to raise big. In this scenario where a 210 offsuit, for you poker fans out there, that was famous for the poker player that I'm forgetting his name, that won the World Series of Poker. I'm going to digress. It's 210 offsuit, 27 offsuit, one of those. I haven't played Hold'em in a while. My point being, you're a massive favorite, right? Like, it's one of the worst hands. This should be basically free money every single time. Well, in the flop, it comes out 7-7-2. So he just made full house with the worst hand in poker. And you pushed all your chips in, you lose everything. Now, the critical point here is, like, a good poker player is going to go in all time, every single time with that situation, every single time. Even getting destroyed like that, because they know the math. They know that they have an 85% chance to win. They made the right bet. The fact that they got unlucky doesn't change the quality of the decision. So if they played 1,000 more hands, pocket aces versus 210 offsuit, 85% of the time, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I don't know the exact odds, pocket aces is going to win. Basically, the point being is, like, you can have a great process. You can understand the stats. You can do probabilistic forecasting. These poker players are very, very smart. They're not just, it's not just all guts. So you can have a great process, terrible result. You can also have a terrible process and a great result, like a 210. I'm just going to bet because I'm just using my gut here if we're using the other person in this scenario. But over time, obviously, if that person continues to do that and just in that isolated scenario, he just wins. But he uses that as, oh, this is now my process. Every time I get 210, I'm actually just going to raise the house regardless of the outcome. They're not going to be a poker player very much longer. It's not just pure luck. The people that win over and over again are making right decisions over and over again. So how does this relate to your ad dollars? How does this relate to Meta? Every dollar you give Meta is a prediction about the future. You are basically saying, I'm expecting this dollar to do something beneficial for me. If it doesn't happen on this day, no harm, no foul. But I believe in the process. I believe in this platform. You already accepted the premise that how Meta is going to forecast your dollars and go out and acquire customers at a cost-effective dollar. You're already accepting that premise that it's going to do that. You bought into the process because you've also seen proven results, I'm assuming, or you've been, even if you're just starting out, you've been convinced, you've heard other people talk about Meta ads and the entire engine and the ecosystem of the platform. It's that belief. You are actually taking a leap of faith in understanding the machine learning is good at making these decisions better than you, regardless of running cost controls or highest volume or anything like that. So that's kind of step one, right? Like, Everybody's bought into this process, even if it's easy to start to blame the platform. But even if we think about the coin flip, I want to show you exactly why your results probably feel volatile, even when the system is actually working correctly. So something even simpler. A fair coin lands on heads 50% of the time. We all know this. If you flip a coin a million times, you're going to get something extremely close to 500,000 heads, 500,000 tails. But when you only flip it 10 times, you actually might get 7 heads in a row and then 3 tails. That's 70% of the time, 40% higher than the true rate. So does that mean that the coin is broken? Of course not. Like, you intuitively understand that 10 flips isn't enough data to draw conclusions. But what about 100 flips? You'd probably expect 50 heads, but in reality, you could actually get 42 heads and 58 tails, right? So that's like a 10 to 20% swing from expectation. Nothing is wrong. It's just variance in the amount of data that's happening. So how this ties into your ad account, if you're spending $1,000 a day and you're getting about 100 website visitors at a $10 cost per click, your conversion rate is around 5%. So you'd expect about 5 purchases per day. But a 5% conversion rate on 100 visitors is basically the same as flipping a coin that lands on heads 5% of the time, only flipping it 100 times. On Monday, you might get 7 purchases, Tuesday 3, Wednesday 6, Thursday 2, Friday 1. You can tell exactly what happens next. Like, as soon as you start isolating on a day-to-day basis, Meta is being weird. This is part of the problem and part of the tangents that I've gone on with internal media buyers. There are people even that leave agencies that are managing a bunch of accounts. They go to manage one, they get bored, but 2, then they start to prove their value, and then they start to actually get too much into the platform and start making isolated decisions on isolated days. The algorithm changed. We need to adjust our strategy. But the reality is nothing is broken. This is just what statistics looks like in small samples. You're watching a coin flip and it's coming up tails a few times in a row and then deciding the coin must be rigged. It's the same coin, same probability. It's just variance. So the thing that really needs to sink in is that small samples are way bigger than you think. Even at 1,000 visitors, which is 10 times the example I just gave with 100 visitors, you're still going to see meaningful day-to-day variance in a 5% conversion rate event. You might expect 50 conversions, but you're going to get 42, you're going to get 58. And that's in a perfectly controlled scenario. But your ad account is not a controlled scenario. You're laying in human behavior, the auction dynamics, the fluctuations on the platform, weekdays versus weekends. You're talking about every Trump tweet that could change the market, weather, competitor activity. There's so many other factors that you can't see or control. So it's perfectly fair for the coin to show that much variance in controlled conditions. Imagine what happens when you add in the chaos of like actual human behavior. All that to say, what's actually happening behind the scenes, which is another podcast episodes that I've done, is Meta isn't making delivery decisions based purely on recent purchase data. If it was, it would be stuck in the same small sample size problem that you are. It would have very low confidence in its prediction. Instead, Meta's model is reading a massive amount of signal that you can't see. And this is why I think influencer seeding is really effective, because you're contributing to the signal that Meta can actually pull in regards to people posting about you, lots of impressions, eyeballs about your brand. And that's going to only impact in a positive way the Meta performance by and large. So it's measuring click behavior, scroll depth, time on the landing page, all these micro signals. It's laddering all of that signal toward the conversion outcomes that you care about, which is what makes it powerful. It's making probabilistic predictions or forecasts or models based on way more information than you or I have. And this is why we lean into the machine learning system as much as possible, because it's going to understand your competitors. It's going to understand the auction dynamics on a day-to-day and also future outcome basis. As you know, we run everything on cost controls. And it's not because we don't trust Meta. It's because we actually trust the engine and machine learning system much more than me. And we're basically saying, okay, you just need financial guardrails to work within because you don't understand the unit economics of my business. So we're just going to put a governor on our spend to say, hey, only deliver if your forecast can say that this can find customers at my cost cap. So whether it's a target ROAS, bid cap, cost cap, 99% of the time we're using cost caps at Kinship. We're just basically saying, don't spend my money unless your forecasting model will acquire customers at my threshold. We're using the machine. We're not fighting it. We're not trying to outsmart it. So when a particular client has 40% spend drop day over day, my best explanation is maybe everyone was at work today. Or maybe people were saving up for a long weekend. Or maybe competitors were bidding aggressively in that window and were willing to pay for more customers at a lower clip than you were. So it looks like meta volatility, but it's actually just human behavior that's ultimately impacting. And when I say also humans, I'm saying not just customers, but also the other humans that you're competing against. So again, this is the beauty of the platform, is that it's not broken. It's designed in this way. 3 things to remember as we just try to make this practical instead of theoretical. Number 1, my main point in the poker player is going to make modeled bets over time, even if he gets really crushed on that one hand. He's trusting in the process. This is every good athlete, right? Kobe, my favorite athletes, Tom Brady, like these people are process people. They love the process way more even than the victory. They don't assess small samples. Of course, they learn from them, but they're also assessing what is my overall process and how is this leading to the results that I want or not, right? So making massive swing changes based on small samples is idiotic, really. And so the number 1 takeaway is small samples are going to lie to you. And so you need to stop believing them. If you're making optimization decisions based on daily data, you're overreacting to noise. If people are convinced and listening to this on cost controls and you're running cost controls, people tend to chase results that they're seeking because of, I switched to cost controls on day 1. Why isn't it doing it? 1, you're acknowledging that you have really high expectations and belief in this platform, kind of this whole ethos of it, just in that statement alone. But daily reporting, you're looking at small samples by definition, and there's going to be wild variance within daily samples. So there's no reason that yesterday's performance should be more predictive of tomorrow. It's actually not. It's an arbitrary 24-hour window. And this is some of the problems, again, with internal media buyers that aren't thinking holistically. Not to harp on internal media buyers, there's probably a lot of them that are really, really good, but you just can't be looking at small sample sizes. You need to stop analyzing creative on day-to-day purchases. Like if you're running these things on purchase data only, again, on a 7-day click window, you need to be modeling the samples over larger days, because when you're looking at an isolated day, you're tend to going to chase results and then overreact, and then you're actually getting in the own way of what the beauty of the tool is, the tool meaning cost controls. Again, this frees you from creative analysis paralysis. You can launch creative at the same bid or cost control, and now you can manage, if you're managing smaller spend levels, even if smaller means like 50 purchases per day or even 50 purchases per week per ad set, you need to zoom out, obviously, because weekly views at a minimum are going to be much more beneficial for you assessing performance. So again, stop making decisions based on what happened yesterday. Number 2, when Meta spends, there's actually a reason. Meta will tell you directly, spend is the best future indicator of future performance. And so stop turning off high spending ads, for example. So when Meta spends, there's a reason. And this is a huge problem I see in ad accounts. You're turning off ads, high spending ads. And I think it's one of the biggest money wasters I see in audits. So a media buyer, for example, sees an ad that's getting significant spend, but underperforming on ROAS, and then they kill it. The ability for Meta to allocate dollars based on its forecasting system, it is pulling in signals that you can not necessarily see. And it believes that that ad will perform over a larger window of time, going back into point number 1. Obviously, there's weird edge cases sometimes, and those are rare exceptions. But the vast majority of the time, when people turn off high spending ads, they're doing it because they're stuck in small sample size thinking, and they watched that coin flip come up tails a few times and panicked. If they just kept flipping, they would have landed on heads 50% of the time. So again, remember, you need to trust it to allocate the money. And then number 3, it's kind of just leaning into the rest of the episode of what I've just said. Meta itself is not volatile. Humans are. And so you need to adjust your expectations accordingly, really. For every tweet that I see, Meta is great today, I see another one that's Meta has been terrible, anybody else. And they're falling prey to the same mistake that everyone is making, which they're extrapolating from tiny samples and then attributing randomness to platform behavior. And so the future is fundamentally unpredictable. Human behavior changes day to day, hour to hour. People get busy at work. They save money before vacations. They splurge after payday. They doom scroll after bad news. They close the app after good news, right? Like it's just all over the place. And so Meta is doing its best to predict within that chaos. And over time, it actually plays out highly, highly beneficial for you. And most of the time it does work. Is it perfect? No. But I think the human behavior is volatile. Also, the person managing the ad account is volatile. Their girlfriend broke up with them. They come in and make day-to-day decisions that are highly emotional, and most people are making emotional decisions and then trying to back it up with data. Again, all that to say, I think the mindset shift is this: don't control individual outcomes. You need to play the best hand most often and trust in the process, and then the results will follow. And then over a period of time, week after week, month over month, if you aren't getting the results that you're getting, you need to change the system. I think it's hard to sit on your hands when you see numbers that you don't like, but we're all pattern matchers. We all want to do something. So the next time you're about to turn off an ad because of 2 bad days or shift budget because of 1 great day, remember the coin flip. Remember that getting 3 conversions instead of 5 is the same as getting tails 3 times in a row. It doesn't mean that the coin is broken. It means you're watching randomness unfold in real time. So again, small samples lie. When Meta spends, there's usually a reason. And 3, Meta isn't volatile. You are, or humans are. And so that affects the auction dynamics. That also affects how you make data decisions. Trust the results. Play the right hand every time. Trust the probabilistic and trust your process. And then if you aren't getting the results that you're getting, obviously change the process to make those things happen. And I think from a theoretical point of view, that's actually how you win at advertising.